Welcome to Justice Losers, the podcast where we discuss hows and whys of entertainment media, namely movies, TVs, and comics. I'm your host, Preston, joined as always by my delightful co-host,
Matt.
Matt, what should people do?
Like, subscribe, and start a fight in the comments! This is JUL SmackDown Raw!
That was not what I was expecting.
I know. Leave if you find something that you disagree with in our show today. Maybe it was my presentation of that line in particular that you found disturbing. Leave us a comment on whichever audio or video medium you're listening to this on, and we'll tell you you're wrong.
No, I'm gonna agree with it. If it's particularly that, like I didn't like that, I'm gonna agree with it.
Fair enough. So Preston.
Oh, Matt.
Yep,
that's how I
feel. Zombies.
Yeah, you fit along with the little not zombie guy that is the only thing that I could find that somewhat equated a zombie.
Yeah, we could characterize him as a ghoul, or a animated skeleton, or a lich, or a Vrikolikas.
Yes. Yes, that one. Let's talk about that one. That's the episode topic, is the
Vrikolikas. We're talking about zombies, in case you hadn't guessed from the thing. Undead people have a long history in mythologies of all sorts. So that brings us to zombies. Zombies!
Zombirds! Zombats! Zombos! Zomfriends! So...
You done?
I've got so many more.
The actual word zombie comes from Haitian folklore.
Oh! Holy shit, that's kind of cool.
Which itself originates in a lot of African folklore, because it's mostly slaves. A lot of slaves. This one's going to get a little depressing.
That was cool, and now it's not.
So in Haitian folklore, a zombie is a dead body that has been reanimated by black magic, or voodoo.
Okay.
Voodoo plays a big role in their superstitions and traditions.
Voodoo.
So it's not just a corpse that is reanimated brainlessly. It's a separation of the body and the spirit, sort of. And it's like the soul is broken, because the soul is the flesh and the spirit. The only way you can really get out of these horrifying Haitian sugar cane plantations is to kill yourself. So, plantation owners don't want to see their capital decreasing. They don't want to see slaves killing themselves. And so a lot of the slave drivers were actual slaves themselves, and some of them were voodoo priests. And so the voodoo priests were told to put the fear of zombieism into the population, into the slave population, so people wouldn't kill themselves. So zombies are fearful because it's this eternal, repetitive slavery. That is where the term zombie came from. It came from that particular interpretation. Gotcha. The modern interpretation has been kind of different, because it hasn't dealt with the black magic side and the reincarnation in a magical sense, and it's been more it's taken more of the flesh-eating monster from some of the other cultures. Mm-hmm. So it's just mishmashing a bunch of different undeads together.
Yeah.
And most of the actual modern conception of what a zombie is, where it's a slow-moving, mindless, reincarnated human that eats flesh, basically. That mostly traces back to Night of the Living Dead. Yeah, and then zombies have gone through a lot of transformations over the years. A lot of the zombie media, Walking Dead, deals with the same. They move slow. They don't have a brain. You can destroy them by destroying the head, or by burning them, is another common through line. And they want to eat your flesh.
Yep.
And there have been some different interpretations in the modern world where they make the zombies fast. So, I kind of like the way we approached this last time. Why have zombies been so popular? They've been versatilely used in cinema and pop culture and other medias for the past 50 years, really.
I think when I was thinking about it a little bit on the way, or past couple of days, just in preparation, I think the fear comes from the fact that, like, you will die. You don't become a zombie without dying.
Mm-hmm.
And so the element of it is that you will die, and then it's beyond you once you're like, there's no way you can control it. It's different from the fear of being a vampire and being a werewolf, and we'll get into the vampire one, of that it's like, oh, it's going to be so hard to control it. If you're a zombie, you don't control it. It's just you murder people mindlessly at this point.
I think it harkens back to the fear of the loss of humanity, that at the end of the day, you're just a lump of meat. And if you take away your humanity, you're nothing.
Yeah.
It's that almost existentialism of it.
And I think it's, so that's one of the points that I thought of. And the other one is the hoarding. That it's the only, of the 4 episodes we're talking about, it's the only trope that hoards.
Right.
And that's the thing, like, so thinking of 7 Days to Die, 7 days, it's every 7 days there is a blood moon horde, where it's just like, once the sound of it's nighttime at 22 hours hits, it's 3 hours of just non-stop zombies. And it's horrifying because you run out of ammo, you run out of resources. If you fall, God save you. With zombies, it's all the time and a lot of them. Yeah. And I think it's that fear of just an unstoppable force.
Right. It's a different sort of animalistic fear. I mean, we talked last week about werewolves, and it's a fear of like the monster stalking you and eating you. This one, it's like the fear of just being overrun and overcome by things that are out of your control.
Yeah. And it's like the turning element where so with werewolves, the whole thing was that if you got attacked by a werewolf but survived, you're turned into a werewolf. But the ultimate goal of the werewolf attacking you is to eat you and kill you. Right. So like, if you get attacked by a werewolf, you just die, or you get turned into a werewolf. With a zombie, the end is becoming if you get attacked at all, you're gonna get turned into a zombie, because it will. Well, at least today's idea of it being a disease, it will corrupt you and turn you at some point to where your brain turns off.
It's interesting that you mentioned the disease point of it, because that's a relatively new idea. I mean, partly because we didn't know what diseases were until like 200 years ago. Yeah. And I think it's interesting that one of the, not the underlying, but one of the underlying emotions and sensations associated with zombies has become disgust instead of fear. That's something you don't see with a lot of other horror movie monsters. The original Night of the Living Dead was panned by critics when it came out for being just too gory. Yeah. Because, I mean, at that point, they didn't really have a movie rating system in place, and they just kind of build it as a normal horror movie, which mid-60s horror movie is not going to be anything too crazy. Yeah. And then movie comes out, and you have, like, 8-year-old kids watching women's arms getting gnawed on.
It's disgusting, because they're, like, you punch it in the stomach and it just doesn't stop moving, but now your hand is inside just decomposing flesh. Yeah. It's yucky.
Yeah. And it's like, the interpretation is always it's a disease, or it's a fungus, or it's something that spreads. So why disgust? Why is that such a motivating and enduring impulse? Is it just incidental to the fact that they're literally walking corpses?
No, I think that it's the disgust is probably the reason that it's very that zombies is one of the ones that have made it through and is used time and time again. It's the each of the reason we chose these 4 are because they're the ones that are very different and bring a unique difference to it, and that's why we're talking about each one. Yeah. And this one, I think disgust is one of the, disgust and the hoarding are the 2 that are like the very distinct 2 zombies.
I think it gets back to almost the existentialism of it. Like, I'm just a sack of meat, and I could catch a disease and start rotting away. Even the hoarding kind of comes back to that. There's a lot of zombies where it's kind of a metaphor for loss of individualism, and like Dawn of the Dead, they're trapped in a shopping mall, and so there's a couple of classic shots of like zombies clamoring at the closed doors out front, like the big glass doors, and it's like, looks like Black Friday.
I've always been interested in the way that they use dirt and grime and like asymmetry and clutter to just give you a feeling of unsettling, because like what you think of when you think of comfort, when most people think of comfort, is like clean, white, pristine, like orderly and stuff like that. But then with a zombie, like God forbid you're sitting in a mansion that's just like white, like marble floors and it's clean, and then a zombie walks in and it's just like dragging dirt and like
entrails,
blood, entrails and stuff all over it. And it's just that, just ignoring the fact that there is a zombie in your house, there is the unsettling of just like you're ruining what is civilized and clean and stuff like that. It removes the humanity of that.
Yeah, they take over your existing comfortable world and corrupt it. They overcome it, and society breaks down.
A zombie outbreak essentially is the crumbling of society.
Yeah.
And you then have to fight for everything that exists.
Yeah.
Everything that you need.
And it can deteriorate into almost a hypermasculine power fantasy, like all these weak people and snowflakes and all that, and then like, I'm a survivor, I'm gonna hunt for my food, and I'm gonna fight off the invading horde. And it, like, there are people who think like, oh, I'd love to live in a zombie apocalypse, just break it down to its essentials of survival, and they want to go back to that almost state of nature existence. Not even like pure anarchists, just people that want to live in a simpler time where, I don't know, in one sense, where classical masculinity works, where you got to be aggressive and assertive and strong and stuff like that to survive.
So that's the appeal of it too.
That is the appeal of it, and that's one of the reasons that zombie fiction endures. Probably one of the reasons it's popular in video games is like, you're the guy against the oncoming horde. You feel that sort of brutal individualism of it. Zombie comedy also exists because blood splatter. That's the fun of zombies too.
Yeah.
The gratuitous gore of it all. But I think zombies uniquely lend themselves to comedies because of that lack of humanity. Yeah, they are. They're bumbling idiots. And it's the ability to laugh at your existential fears. To laugh at the idea that deep down you're nothing but a bumbling idiot. Some of us, it's on the surface. Our bumbling idiotitude.
Yeah, you.
Idiocy.
Idiotitude. Idiotitude. I like idiotitude.
Idiotitude. I just love a good zombie comedy. You know, you see the blood splatter.
Zombie.
Yeah. Dang, I was gonna say that. Stole it from me.
Welp.
Yeah, but like Shaun of the Dead, Zombieland. You know, you can get creative with the way that you kill the zombies.
Yeah.
And it's entertaining.
Yeah. All right.
What's our thesis?
Zombies are scary because they remove the humanity in the sense of individualism. And they offer a threat through hoarding and dirtying up your house.
Yeah.
And you can't escape it.
Something like that.
Close enough.
We'll call it.
Shallst we?
We shallst.
Hello? If you liked what you saw, subscribe. If not, it's your life!